Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of the UX show. I am super excited to be here with my co hosts, Giga and Yash, and of course, our incredible second guest, Seva. Welcome, everyone. And Yash, I believe that you have an intro for a little bit of the show and us, so please go for it.
Yeah, super excited to be here in the second episode for the UX show. I am Yash. I am a Google developer expert on the web. And from Liquid Galaxy, we have a lovely list of speakers here. We have Victor, who is also a GDE on web, and also he works on Mamori Labs. And we have Giga, who is in Jobia AI. And finally, we have Seva. He is a technical project manager at Contractor at Apple, and it is just incredibly nice to be seeing him again. We had a lovely chat quite a while ago, and it's just so incredible to finally have him on the show. So, how are you, Seva?
Thanks, guys, for having me. I'm doing very great, and yeah, as you said, I'm working as a technical PM at Apple via Tech Systems. I have 7 years of experience in tech as both like product manager and project manager, and in terms of UX, these two roles they are pursuing like very different goals, like quite the opposite goals, and well, so far, my mood is great. So hopefully, this conversation will increase it like even more. So,
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. I have heard about these terms. Like they usually cross my mind. Like what is like UX or technical side of things as a product manager versus seeing those things as a project managers. But really, it doesn't click me. Like I do want to understand like how those two are different and if they're different or if they're not. So yeah, Seva, do you have something to tell about this?
yeah, well, I definitely do. So right now, I'm working like as a project manager. So, and my main goal is to deliver the project. Right? I don't really care. Well, I mean, I care, but not really how beautiful and sexy it's gonna be. My main goal is to deliver it on time within the budget and within the scope, right? And that means translated into UX language, I can find compromises in UX and UI, the way to deliver it like faster, cheaper, whatever. Um, I mean, do I still want to look my product pretty? Well, yes, but as I said, I'm caring not a product, I'm caring about the project itself. Well, while I had an experience as a product manager, I wanted my product to be sellable. And what does that mean? It means I want this product to be used by users, and that's my main goal. And for that matter, I'm gonna say like something like very arguable, very discussable probably, but UI matters more than UX because I want my product to look sexy first of all, and I don't really care how usable it is if the user doesn't want to use it. So I really focus on all of this stuff to make it to make user feel that I want to touch this product, right? And only after that I care about the stuff like how can I go from one page to another? How can I go to how can I complete my tasks? How can I solve these tasks, right? But the first thing is I want it to look good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah, sexy apps. So in general, yeah, I do want to ask, like, Victor, do you have any questions regarding, or have you seen any
The first
sexy apps?
actually the first question I have for him is you look way too young to have 7 years of experience. How old are you if you are willing to share?
Yeah, I am willing to share. I'm 28, and I started 21 by founding my startup. I was we were doing outsourced software development, and a friend of mine told me, "Hey, dude, you can be a project manager." And I was like, "Dude, what's that?" And he sent me two articles, one about agile, the second one about waterfall. I read those two articles and thought, well, this is easy. I was wrong. I was so wrong. This was not easy at all. But that's how it all started. We participated in a hackathon. We found a third guy, got a second place in hackathon, and we won our first client there. And that's how it all started.
A fellow entrepreneur. I love that, and a fellow young entrepreneur. I used to be young when I started my first company. Now I'm young at heart, but I have to say, I think age matters on those things, and the willingness to take into an adventure. And I think honestly that helps a lot. The fact that when you are young and naive, you don't know what you are doing. And sometimes that's the best way to learn, because you have nothing wrong in your head. Therefore, you can only learn and make plenty of mistakes as well, right? But you can only learn. I really like, man, your first comment on this part of the first thing that an application needs to be, or anything really, is attractive enough for a user, because it won't matter that you have good or bad UX if no one is willing to even touch it, right? On that part. But also, you were very careful in your wording. You have experience beyond your age, I have to say, because you said the first thing, right? And I think it's kind of really important to pair those two things, right? Having that sexiness, that magnetic aspect of I want to start testing this, but you could also kind of read something that we see a lot, and is an application that is extremely sexy, right? It has an awesome exterior, an awesome UI, and then it becomes an absolute nightmare in usability, right? So you can have a massive issue, right? Because basically the external part of that UI is attracting a lot of users that want to touch, and then you don't deliver on the user experience, right? So I think you are absolutely right, right? And it's funny because on the first episode we focused a lot on compliance, right? We focused a lot on making things that are usable, repeatable, flows on that piece. But I think you mentioned another part that honestly is really important for any UX consideration, and is the first thing that you need to have is users, and how are you going to bring them there, right? And I think that is a remarkable kind of first comment, and it shows as well kind of the real life experience, right, on this aspect. Obviously, UA and UX and UX, sorry, loves data, right? The data allow us to make interesting decisions. So my question for you is that what happens, right, when you get that sexiness factor, that attractive UI factor right, but suddenly the UX is not, right? How do you measure that? How do you improve a UX that goes into that trap?
So I want to really give you like a metaphorical example. Like you see a beautiful flower, right? And you take this beautiful flower, you smell it, and it stinks, right? So the flower is good. You want to take it, but you don't want to hold it. And the same can happen with the tool, with the application. So it looks sexy. It feels like it can solve your problems. You see all of the slogans, you see all of these different words. We're gonna solve your problems. We're gonna uh, I don't know, build beautiful reports, analytics, blah blah blah. But then you start using it, you don't understand how to use it, right? It doesn't solve anything. So it it really is important to create this first impression, but then uh, you have to focus on making this application to solve your problems as fast as possible. As a user, I don't need to burn calories in my brain to understand how do I use it, right? Why do I need to like make 3 clicks instead of 1 click, right? Why do I need to do like a side scroll instead of like regular up and down scroll, for example, or stuff like this. Um, and I think I know a company that focuses on their UIs, and well, yeah, I hate to bring it up, right? But as I said, work at Apple, but I think they're managing their UIs very well. So um, every time I'm using an Apple product, whatever it is, like iPhone, iPad, Mac, Apple Watch, anything really, I don't need to burn calories in my brain to understand how do I want to achieve the goal, right? It's all very simple, and I'm not alone here. I have like my granny. She's 70-year-old, like 70 to 73. She has a very hard time using Android phones, and well, not every single Android phone, right? I don't want to blame like Google overall, but when I gave her my old iPhone, she was able to she managed it in a few days, and she's like 70 years old, and it was very intuitive for her. So that's what we really want to achieve, and that's really hard work to do all of this stuff. I mean, yeah, I guess I hope that answers your question.
Once more, wise beyond your ears. I have to say it's quite amazing. Thank you for that answer. Giga, you've been too silent, and he's the smartest one,
Yeah,
so he's gonna have the good questions. Go for it, Giga.
yeah. I was listening and making the parallels with my experience with Jobia, and as you said, like you have never done something, you have no idea what might come on your way. So I had a couple of user testing and about user experience. I was mind blown, and I see that lots of the times companies are missing that part, and they are like building all the products and projects only within their circle. And do you think that user testing is really important for even internal tools or external tools? Have you done that before? Whenever you have done something, because I agree that, and I agree with the sexiness part, and I'm a huge fan of designs. And I also think that whenever I see good design, even on the landing page, I have the trust. I don't know if you agree, guys, or not. Whenever I see something good, I have the feeling like, hey, these guys know how to do design. Probably the product will be amazing as well. If I go on a very crappy landing page, I'm like, I don't want to use this. I already know it's very complicated inside. So have you done the testing, and what's your thoughts on that? And yeah, everything around that user testing, and if you have improved something over that, and if you had the same mind-blowing experience as I did.
Yeah, for sure. So, well, I was studying project management in Russian for the most part, right? And a lot of tech terms, which I know they are in Russian, so I'll be trying to translate them, and hopefully they're the same. There is a thing which is called corridor testing. It's like when you are developing a tool and you have a concept, right? A few concepts. You just did like a certain design. You come to a person in a corridor, basically, and ask him like, "Hey, what do you think about this design? Like, try to achieve this goal, like." And you give the controls to this user and just looking at them how they are doing this stuff, and ideally they are doing this the way you planned, right? That's ideal. It almost never happens. uh, so you take a look at them doing all the stuff wrong, and then eventually they hit the mark, and you were hoping them to achieve this goal in 20 seconds. In 5 seconds they achieve this goal in 20 seconds instead. So they're losing like 15 seconds. And then you see their look and they say, good. And you understand, no, it's not, right? And then you ask them for their feedback very honestly, like, hey, what's it wrong? What did confuse you? What were you thinking? How you were burning these calories in your brain to achieve this goal? So they're giving this feedback to you, and then you adjust and iterate and iterate and iterate. I started doing this not right away, unfortunately, right? And I actually did startups not once, I did 3 times, and all 3 times I failed. Sometimes I earned money, sometimes, well, a couple of times I didn't. But one time I definitely failed because of the UIs and because of UXs. So we had a great idea. I think it was, like, as people call it, another delivery app. And in fact, this was not a delivery app. This was something which combined delivery app plus a loyalty program, which was like a very complicated business model, which we had to transparently communicate to our users, and we weren't able to do so. So the idea was complicated, and we thought it's okay for UI to be complicated, and it really is not. And for UX to be complicated, it really is not, right? Even if the idea is complicated, you still need to make it very transparent and very clear for users, like how to achieve their goals, how to solve their tasks, how to minimize their effort. Otherwise, I mean, you're gonna fail eventually, because UI is the first thing they face, UX is the second thing they face. You fail on one of these two fronts, you're done, you're cooked.
Exactly. I wanted to hear that from you because I was very lucky to have founding UX member in my startup, and she was like pushing that and always saying like all the startups fail because of the neglecting the UX and UI. So I just wanted to make that this is not just for the UX UI people to listen on our stories and discussions, but like everyone needs to understand this. This is very fundamental. This is very important for everything and anything you build. And if you want to be successful, definitely you need to listen, read, consult, and know more about proper UI and UX as much as you can.
Yeah, amazing. I mean, this sounds good. And whenever I try an Apple product, I like really agree that it's has the look and feel that I want. So if I open up a MacBook, it just opens the way that it has this whole gestures and stuff. If I am closing any tab, it just moves in with a certain animation that looks really nice. So yeah, I think that the whole UI thing and like the whole touch feel look is like really matters. And with that, I wanted to ask a question to Seva that it wouldn't be always that you have created like really nice UIs. You already shared an example, but over the time, if you would tell like as a founder how you started, and maybe there was a time when you were not making so good user experiences, maybe some shitty apps that you started with, and later on maybe you targeted and become like better and better and have that taste in yourself. So yeah.
Uh, well, cannot really brag here, right? So honestly, I did stop with my startup ventures eventually, right? And this is kind of related to my journey overall, not only like in tech or in business, but in life. I immigrated to the US when I was 25. And when I got here, I kind of stopped working on my ventures in tech, and I mean, I have a job in tech, right? And but I'm not working on something my own very actively right now. But that being said, like while I'm working on and I'm working on internal projects like at Apple. So while I'm working on that, even though I'm a project manager, even though I'm more like listening to product managers and designers' suggestions on the UI and on the UX, sometimes I have a very clear like opinion on the stuff because I know our business users and because I know the goals that they want to achieve because I talked to them like way too many times by now. Um, and Whenever the discussion is going around the designs, around the UI or the UX, and someone is proposing something which I think is not really gonna work, I always have my word. And I'm proud to say that people started listening to project managers more in this context because uh, it's like for example, just for example, we had a tool and we had like this tabs on the top, and we introduced a new feature, and it's only logical to add like four. And we had three tabs, and we needed to add like fourth tab. I thought, but a guy said like, "Hey, we don't want to add like fourth tab on the top because yada yada yada. It should be accessible from the other like pages." And he started complicated the stuff. You clearly saw his logic, and he didn't want to overload it, like I don't know the header. But I said, well, man, it's like it's really simple. It's just add the fourth tab. It's going to be accessible all the time. If users need to go to this feature faster, even though it's logical to go like from the I don't know from the accounts or from the other page, they can still go from this other page. But let them have an option to like add fourth tab. And I know it may sound like very bizarre, right? Just add the fourth tab, right? But most of those decisions they're very bizarre and simple. Uh, that's really the trick. When you stop overcomplicating stuff and when you start thinking simple, that's when the magic happens. So, well, that's the approach I convey, not only in UI but also in life. So, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really incredible, and it just reminds me of a book called like "Don't Make Me Think." I'm not sure if you have heard of that. There was a like whole UX book around like to make things really simple, and intuitive, not have something more than 2 clicks away and stuff like that. I do want to ask something, and maybe this was something we were even discussing before, and this is around the Apple conference that happened. I do want to get a picture of how you think of the whole glass morphism effect in UI and the way it is taking. And yeah, I'll be just having all the questions from other guests because I think that is the most curious and interesting part that we'll be talking about. So yeah.
So there are really like two opinions on that. I will tell which one is mine after. So the first opinion on this, right? It's just well, first of all, in both cases, it's just an improvement to the UI overall. It looks even better, even sexier, even more modern. It creates this appeal to Apple operating systems, whether it's tablet, like whether it's iPad OS, whether it's Mac OS, whether it's iOS, whatever. It really creates a feeling where the main character, so the user of Apple's tools, is the main character of a movie, of a modern movie, very futuristic, and it creates a nice look and feel. So in this part, I think they completely nailed it, right? On the second part, and with the UX too, I mean, they didn't change much with the UX. Like really, their UX was already great. I genuinely believe in that. In terms of innovation, though, and here where we have two opinions really. So the first one is it's not innovative, and for 2025, and I can agree with that, right? It's not really innovative, but it's not innovative right now. So, and here comes the second opinion. It's iterative, right? And it's innovation. So, if we take a look at iPhone 15 and 16, right? Are they so much different? Well, no, they're not. But if we're taking a look at iPhone 14 and 16, they are, right? And if we're taking a look at iPhone 11 and 16, well, they're drastically different. While iPhone 11 and 12, they're not so much different. So they're taking this iterational approach, incremental changes. They are applying it. And this is the first step. And there are going to be like many more steps. So the real question is what we are going to see like in 3 years or in 4 years. And this model proves to be very effective. So I just want to bring up a car analogy. There is very famous car. I think many people consider it like the best car overall in the human history. It's Porsche 911. So Porsche is taking like exactly the same approach. They are, I mean, they're doing this minor incremental changes, but their car is the best over the decades. So, I mean, probably that's the same thing that Apple is doing. So,
Sounds incredible. I think that Victor also has some questions or some things to say about this. So yeah, let's go
Absolutely,
there.
yeah. I think you cover something really important, right? And I think Apple is trapped in its own excellence in the sense that they have been doing really good UX for a really long time. And if you go with a radical change, you will lose some users. You may win some, right? But you only may.
right.
But it's almost the fact that if you discontinue the user experience that have given you your brand, almost, you could lose a lot of users, right? So I think you're absolutely right. It's something incremental, and I think whenever something is seen as radical, and I remember when the camera island was introduced and people were absolutely outraged, this is an absolute disaster, right? And now we have seen that in many other brands and many other UX systems in phones. And this is not only UX but UI, right? And we have so many things that people have adapted, right? Over that. And the reality is that I think innovation is for the incumbents. I'm sorry to say, but the reality is that disruption is usually the work of the underdog, right? And I think you are right. I think the UX in Android in many occasions have been subpar, and obviously it changes a lot from phone to phone and from experience. But it's true, right? I remember I love the freedom of Android. I'm a developer, right? And I want control more than UX. But I admit as well that I'm not the regular user, right? I still prefer Android in terms of control. But I have to admit that the ecosystem is quite amazing in Apple, and that consistency, it's brilliant, right? However, Google is being innovative. We are seeing a lot of bold decisions. We are seeing the power of AI, and almost this movement of UX and UI that it wants to disappear in favor of a conversation with an AI that is literally kind of shaping UX. And I wonder, right, if I don't know, when we become grandpas, are we gonna be, pressing buttons, or are we gonna be talking with our phone? And I wonder, how do you see, this innovation around AI? And we try to, remove AI from most of the conversations, but to be completely honest, it's really hard nowadays not to mix almost any field, right, with AI. So I was wondering, how are you seeing the Google moves that we have seen so far? How are you seeing this integration of AI as part of the user experience? And yeah, where are buttons going? Are we going to see them in 3 or 4 years?
Well, that's a great question. So first of all, Victor, you mentioned like very interesting thing about Android given this freedom, right? And I genuinely believe there are two types of systems. So the system that gives the user control, and user controls the system, and that's why Google is doing, right? That's what Android is doing. And the second system is the system that controls the user, and that's what Apple is doing, right? Apple doesn't let user fail, and that's why I mean it's successful for many like not very nerdy users, right? Just regular users like myself, for example. I love when the system controls me and doesn't let me fail. Well, that being said, Google continues being innovative, and Google like continues introducing these AI changes and a lot of this functionality, which I can see how it can be useful, right? And uh, gonna say this like I was considering to switch to Google Pixel, right? Because of those AI features, but then I thought for a second, like, hey, well, in my phone, I'm using like web browser. I'm using the Notes application, and previously I've been watching YouTube. So, do I really need all of this AI controls, all of these very cool features that Google brings? And I decided, well, for myself, no. And I still want to be this regular user who is controlled by the system. Now, that being said, do I like these AI features which Google has in Apple? Well, I do. Sometimes I do, like really summarizing the page, right? Well, now Apple has it. And you can do this. You can trick it. But I mean, like the summarizing web pages, taking the notes from your calls. Well, it is possible, right? It feels like it's more convenient to do with Android devices than with Apple devices. Whether it is coming for Apple, I think yes. I think it is coming. Well, how soon it's going to come, right? That's the right question here. And the answer to this, I would say, is as soon as they will figure out how to make these features to be controlled by the system, right? To not let the user fail, to not let the user make mistakes with these features. And so once again, it's all simple when we bring it down. So in Google gives more agency to a user, Apple gives more agency to a system. And I think these features are coming. It's just very hard task to not let user fail with these things. Well, that's my opinion at least.
That's awesome, and once more, I have to say, time flies where you're having fun and when you're learning, and we learned already a lot from you. But I know that you guys have some last remarks, maybe a question over over
Yep.
over there. So, Giga, please.
Yeah, I agree, and I wanted to just add on the glass, liquid glass as well. I have tested that on all my Apple devices. I love it. It's amazing. I don't know, guys, if you have tested it. And regarding the AI being integral part of our future, I also agree. And I have made or I have observed Google Chrome adding Gemini, and you can share your screen, and you don't even need to copy, paste, or comment something. You just like click help of Gemini. You have it on live. You share your screen and you say like, "Hey, summarize this." You don't need to have like regular conversation to go copy, paste, or do something. And it goes beyond the summarization. You can ask anything. Do you have any like crazy idea about having AIs affecting UI UX from the big company's perspective and from the innovation perspective as well? Like we discussed that Apple is taking more like slower and more like incremental steps. Google can be more innovative. What's your thoughts are to summarize this topic, like what can be like your craziest dream or vision about AI?
Well, I don't know. I think I kind of said everything. So, well, in short, right, Google will continue impressing us with these bold new features, making making us look futuristic. Right? So every single brand, every single successful brand, he's positioning his customer as the main character of their story. Right? It's not the brand who's the main character; it's their customer who's the main character. And what Google is trying to do is to make their users feel like cyberpunk, make them feel futuristic. Uh, while Apple is positioning them like a little bit different, differently. So, I mean, I should say Apple is also trying to make them feel futuristic, but not with giving them like all of these crazy possibilities and heavy controls, but giving them the looks of giving them these futuristic looks, how we envision this future, and not how we feel the future. So yeah, these are really two different approaches. Google gives us a lot of controls and shows us, hey, it's already possible to do this today. Apple gives us, hey, looks cool, right? It looks futuristic. So, well, that's really it. And eventually, Apple is going to add like a lot of AI features, but I think they will always be one step behind Google here in terms of functionality.
Perfect, thank you.
That
Yeah,
was
it sounds.
fantastic. I think we are actually bound for time over here, and you have been a fantastic guest, Seva. And I know that Yash wants to kind of close the episode. Thank you so much for your answers. We enjoyed so much about this. And Yash, last parting words for us.
Yeah, so it was incredible having you again, and we would be maybe having another episode with you in the future. And it was just stunning to know like how Apple has been growing, and we will just be keeping a lookout on those events and conferences that both Google and Apple held. So yeah, it was amazing, and thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you
Thank
all
you.
for watching as well, wherever you are in YouTube or the different platforms where we're gonna be publishing this. Stay tuned for the next announcements of the UX show. Bye bye, everyone. Thank you all.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.